Ladies and gentlemen, buzzards and gulls, welcome to my first YouTube video with the game Wingspan. You'll have to excuse the random Discord noises, sorry if that triggers you into thinking you have a Discord notification. Still learning how to sound edit. My opening hand, not perfectly straightforward. Benelli's Eagle is always fun to see. Little Penguin, also super fun to see. With a Little Penguin, Eleanor's Falcon's looking pretty attractive, but it's always good to check the tray, check the feeder, see what we need. If there's plenty of nectar, it's often good to keep an extra bird in case you want to ditch it for an immediate nectar. And then I see the wood duck, and I think, okay, I really need to grab that wood duck. Make some tough choices. Benelli's Eagle is almost always a keep. There's very, very few scenarios where you don't keep Benelli's. If everything else in your hand is insanely good, sometimes you don't. But truly, it's kind of a snap pickup. Little Penguin is also in that category, but not quite as auto pickup. I saw the wood duck in the tray, and I was like, oh man, I really wanted to build a wetlands engine. But with wood duck, it's just so easy to start a forest engine, and it fits my diet specialist because I'm definitely not doing 4 eggs on one bird. That one's kind of awkward, especially with what I've got set up here. So I decided to keep the Little Penguin because I'm not sure which is better, to go Little Penguin engine or wood duck. I almost always go wood duck, but I just really wanted to play with a Little Penguin. But I came to my senses, decided with the tray being what it was, I had time to play what I want. There's no fish in there or nectar, so it'd be awkward to get the wood duck down. I decided to keep the Little Penguin just in case I used wood duck as sort of a tempo play in the first round to build out my wetlands engine. And I was like, okay, what if I tried Eleanor's Falcon? But why would I keep the Falcon if I'm not keeping Little Penguin too? So I decided to stay flexible, keep the Little Penguin, and then keep the 3 food that I need for the wood duck, and just first turn pick up wood duck, second turn take food and see what comes up with the wood duck. As a side note, I'm playing against my friend. Araria is his Steam name. He chose to keep 3 birds and then 3 food. I think it's a pretty easy first decision. Just snap up the wood duck. Now, the Plains Wanderer showed up, bird I really wanted. I thought about just picking that up as well, but it doesn't really fit my bonus, and I'm not heartbroken if that leaves. It doesn't also hit hardly any of the end around goals. It hits the 3rd one, technically it's the 4th one, but every bird hits the 4th one. With that 4th one in mind, I'm really looking for some 1 costs to play, so that Crimson Chat actually looked pretty enticing. I know if I'm building a wood duck engine, I'm going to have a lot of spare food, and I also don't have a source of eggs yet, so the Crimson Chat can help me get some extra points while forcing down turns to lay eggs. But yep, we went ahead and played wood duck next. I thought about it for a second. I saw him pick up the wagtail, and I know he's probably going to want that chat. So I decided, you know what, wood duck is too valuable, really good for tempo. I typically like to try to play a bird first before starting to take the actions, because you get an entire extra resource that way. You don't have to trade one of your resources for it. Also worth noting that with a Willy Wagtail, he's probably going to be resetting the tray. With that in mind, playing the wood duck now means that I can immediately take food and scoop up one of those new birds in the tray. So for this next turn, pretty straightforward, take food, use the wood duck. This game, you're going to see this a lot. The goal is to use the wood duck as much as possible. Here I take fish, because I'm still thinking I might use the Little Penguin. Then again, I might not. So I decide worm's probably the most common food type, so I did end up taking a worm. I really wanted both the Crimson Chat and the Plains Wanderer, but I figured the Plains Wanderer is probably more valuable. So, and the Crimson Chat's pretty good for him, so I decided to take it, ditch it out, because he's able to draw that up with the wagtail. Then, the Sparrowhawk and your European robin show up. The robin specifically is very good for him because it helps his forest engine and is also a cup nest that he's able to draw with the wagtail, so I know I need to take food again and scoop that up. Not a problem though, because I'm pretty set for food. Decide to take another fish in case I do decide to do that little penguin. This was actually a minor mistake. It's not that big of a deal, but if I'm taking the sparrowhawk and planning to use it, then I don't actually want to keep my little penguin. And with the European robin, I'm pretty much locked into a forest engine. So I've decided the European robin's going into my hand, and thus the little penguin doesn't really make sense anymore because it's a wetlands bird that I don't need. The only thing is the little penguin could be a point bomb later or a nest type later, but overall I decided it's not worth it. I mean, I have the fish for it, but I'm never going to use it really. I'm just going to be drawing with the wood deck. I thought about discarding the sparrowhawk, but you know, I think I can get some extra cards for it, maybe build out my forest engine further with it. So I did end up discarding Little Penguin. In the end, this actually turned out to be a very good decision, because the next bird that shows up is a common starling. And I'd like to point out, I think my opponent made a huge mistake by letting that starling get through. I think he should have either taken food and reset the tray to get rid of it. I take some nectar, and pretty obvious choice. Hooded Merganser, useless card in my setup. Generally not an amazing bird to begin with, so has its uses, but definitely not here, so ditch that easily. Next turn now, I've got 3 turns left, and I've decided I have time to play 2 birds and take food. And the starling can go in either one. I'm not sure where I'm going to play it, and I've decided I really want that golden eye. I don't really want to be laying eggs if I can avoid using the grasslands action. That's probably the golden situation. Ideally, I can get a bird that lays eggs in the forest to go with my wood duck engine, but a Barrow's Goldeneye, it's a great bird. I don't really have another great option in the wetlands other than the starling, and then I don't really have an option in the grasslands if I do need to lay eggs, so I've decided, okay, the starling can go in the grasslands, and if I take food and draw up that Goldeneye, I think I have enough food to get them both down. Well, I know I have enough food to get them both down, so after thinking it through, planning it out, I've decided I have 3 turns, take a food, get another nectar. Nectar's pretty safe because I know I'm playing the starling this round. It's not that I want to use the starling right now. Generally, you don't need to ditch food this early in the game. You don't really want to use that for just like 1 point at the end. But the starling is the only bird in my hand that qualifies me for that 1 extra point for this end around goal. My opponent has, I think, 2 or 3, and I know I'm not going to compete for it, so I might as well get the 1 free bonus point. I can ditch the nectar to get some nectar points in the grasslands with it. You'll see that in a moment. I've decided, okay, I've got a cavity nest. I don't know how much nectar I want to use on this Goldeneye, and I actually only want to use 1 because with my opponent playing a Willy Wagtail, he's going to be building a forest engine too. So I don't think I actually need too much nectar invested in the wetlands to compete, and I might as well drop 1 just to at least contribute, give me the base 2 points at the end of the game. And then I can save the nectar and use it in the forest and the grasslands where I think we're going to be competing for that nectar battle at the end of the game. So I drop the Goldeneye. I look at his board. He'd already laid eggs, so I don't really get an egg for the Goldeneye. It's not that big of a deal, but then I noticed he plays a Dunnock. And the Dunnock, you know, for every time I use my grasslands, he gets an egg at the end of the round. So I decided to play the starling to contribute, and I thought about what food I wanted to ditch for this, and I really wanted to ditch more just because I figured I could optimize. I have the European robin, I'm going to be getting plenty of food, but in the end I decided, you know what, it's not really worth it. Obviously you ditch the nectar, you're going to lose it anyway, but I might draw up some birds that use those fish and rodents. I can always ditch them later. I've got 3 more rounds to work with, so I kept the food. and then we move on to this next round. So my opponent reset the tray and revealed a Mourning Dove. He gained food. This is why the Willy Wagtail can actually misfire pretty bad, because if you reset the tray for your opponent, you might reveal something he desperately needs. And that Mourning Dove was perfect for what I needed. It was probably the most valuable reset that he gave me. And this is where people don't like the Willy Wagtail, because it resets the tray. And I agree, it can be dangerous, but I think it might have been a misplay on his part to be resetting the tray so often. But you know, I can't criticize too much, because if there's nothing in the tray for the Wagtail, you might as well look. And then I drew this Tui as well. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I think it's Tui. And decided, oh my gosh, this thing can copy his Wagtail. That's insanely good for me, and I can definitely get the Nectar to play it. And this is looking good. This Tui is going to be great. So I decided with that, I need to ditch a card, and I decided to ditch the Sparrowhawk, because I'm probably not going to have a ton of extra cards at the end of the game, even with my Wood Duck. And so any extra cards I do end up using, I do want to use for Benelli's Eagle. Anyway, nothing really good in the tray here. Nothing speaks to me. I figure I could just draw off the top and get some trash for the Eagle later. You know, having trash cards in your hand actually does kind of make your decisions a little easier. So I draw 2 off the deck. I believe I drew 2 off the deck. Perfect. And honestly, I'm not even disappointed. Again, it just makes it easy to have things to get rid of. You know, as I put my next bird down, I'm going to want to ditch cards for food if I want to. And so the red-capped robin, green pygmy goose, both don't really fit what I'm trying to do here, so went ahead and ditched those. My opponent did finally lay eggs. I did get an egg finally. I was waiting for this. He also gave me a free food with the hummingbird. With a starling down, I can't say it's the best decision. I decided to take a wheat here, a grain or grub, I don't know. I think I took a grain, because I figured I would have plenty of access to worms. Maybe I did take a worm. Let me see a second. Yeah, I took a grain. Okay. And then immediate snap decision, play the Mourning Dove, finally can get it down, finally have the egg for it. Don't use a Nectar, because I think I want to mostly compete Nectar in the grasslands. But I haven't fully committed either way, and I needed the Nectar for the Tui, that was it. So now that it's my turn, take that road, grab one of those. I also didn't realize he actually let me draw a second. If I knew that, I would have probably just taken the rodent, and that way I get 2 Nectar here, but it wasn't too big of a deal. But, you know, just minor mistakes. Again, drew garbage, not a problem. I have Benelli's, so I need garbage to ditch. I saw him play the Nosy Miner, too, and Noisy Miner, I think? I don't know what it's called, but that card is insanely good for my Tui that he doesn't realize I have yet. So I checked the Tui, it has 2 egg spaces on it, and I'm golden. I can use it to lay 2 eggs on it, use his own miner against him. I do decide to save the Nectar in case I want to use it on a different bird. So the Noisy Miner's down. He does give me an egg, which is great. Go ahead and use that, but I still don't have enough. I want to put that European Robin down this round. And I know the Tui can also lay eggs on itself for this end of round goal. It was really the perfect bird to draw when it did. Pretty static. So reset the tray, take that Nectar. Again, there's no risk taking any Nectar because I can always ditch the extra to the starling. So it's always good to have. I thought about, you know, do I have something I need to draw? Do I need to be gaining more cards to make sure I have enough for Benelli's at the end? But, you know, thinking about it more, it's like, no, I definitely need more eggs. I'm definitely going to use them. So he doesn't really gain a huge bonus from getting that extra egg. He can use his own miner. So tuck it, lay the 2, get a free egg on the Mourning Dove, and then draw some cards. None of these really stand out to me as great birds, and lo and behold, a house frickin' sparrow. And the tanager, I took it just to deny him the cup nest, in case he wanted to take food one more time. Decided the European robin's better than it because it can get me more nectar, and it doesn't miss. So then he played a greater prairie chicken. I'm assuming he's getting prepped for the next round. It's also just a good bird to have. I'm sure he just needed to use the excess food that he had. So played that European robin, deciding whether to use the nectar on the starling or to use it on the robin. I figured, I only got 2 more egg slots where I can really spend nectar in the forest and like compete for that end of game nectar goal. So I decided yes, and I decided to use a worm because I have a sparrow now, so all of my spare wheat is valuable for the sparrow. I thought about playing the sparrow this round with that nectar and then using the wheat, but decided I don't quite have everything I need, and I think the European robin value is way higher to get down in this second round yet. I'm going to get taken food a lot more this game, so I also wasn't sure whether to use my rodents and fish for this starling. I can't remember what I decided to do. I think I once again only tucked like 1 or 2. No, I did tuck, okay, because I didn't have anything in hand, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm getting tons of food, so it's pretty safe to just ditch food for points even this early. Looking back at this game, I agree with that. I think keeping the worms and wheat was smart. Looking at the tray, there's nothing insane. I'm not going to be tucking for eggs with my Tui with the Noisy Miner copy, but there is a star nest in the tray, so that means that I can draw it up with a Willy Wagtail safely. I'm also going to be collecting a lot of wheat, so I don't really want to give him that. I thought about ditching the Pygmy Goose here for an extra wheat to stash that I can use for the sparrow, because I'm pretty sure that I wanted to play the sparrow this round. I'm not sure if I actually got it down this round. I don't think I ended up, but spoilers. So I did end up deciding to ditch the goose because I'm not going to be tucking a card by copying the Tui. Take an extra one, grab that Willy Wagtail, deny the Zebra Finch, because I'm going to be holding wheat the whole game, so that would be a really good bird for him. Draw 2 birds, and the Trumpeter Swan. Great pickup when you're building a forest engine. Just those blank point bombs that you can play. It also fits this end around, and if you notice, I don't have a single ground nest. And with how efficient my birds are, I just want to make sure I contribute to the end around goal. I'm not trying to win it. I just want to make sure I participate and get that base, in this case, 3 points. So now I'm thinking, okay, which birds do I need to play? Do I even want to use the Finch? Probably not. It's only 1 point. Trumpeter Swan? Definitely want to use that. So looking at my hand, Trumpeter Swan's looking juicy, but do I want to take more food? Probably. It's always safe with what I've got in hand. Trying to plan out my final turns. There is a crested pigeon in the tray that I really want, but the problem is that the Tui will copy the Willy Wagtail, which will reset the tray. Or the Tui could copy the, tuck 1, lay 2 eggs, but I don't have egg space. So in the end, what I decided to do was I would use the Wagtail and reset the tray and say goodbye to the pigeon. I really wanted the pigeon, but I decided, you know what, the house finch can use my extra wheat. It's not that big of a deal. So Wagtail, go ahead and reset the tray, and if it resets something really good, then I can just draw it up with the wood duck. So it gives me a warbler. Warbler's not good here, but it's great because I need trash for my Benelli's eagle. And then I can just draw 2 with the wood duck, and I think I found another great card here. Let's see. Mute Swan's not good. Bald Eagle. Another great point bomb that I can use. So I know the Warbler's not happening. I'm pretty sure the Mute Swan's not happening too, but I was like, it's an end around. I don't know, maybe. And then, of course, the Kia. And I was so heartbroken to see this Kia reveal. And then he didn't take it from me, and I wanted it so bad. But again, I'm in the same situation. My Tui will reset the tray, So I thought about it. I was like, okay, what if I played Benelli's Eagle now to clear off the eggs for the Tui and then see if I can get it next turn? And I looked at my opponent's board beforehand. I was like, no, he just played a turn. There's no way he's not drawing cards immediately. So I thought, okay, how do I get it now? The only way I can really get it now is to skip the Tui, because I can't tuck and give him an egg. That doesn't make sense. And I can't reset the tray to get it, obviously, because that wouldn't make sense either. So I could skip the Tui now, which feels bad, and then just draw it up with the wood duck. I could obviously just take cards, but that's a mistake because I have a wood duck, so there's no reason to ever just take draw cards action right now. So I sat and hovered on this for a while and decided, you know what? Let's just say goodbye to the Kia. I want it really bad, but I've got plenty of great cards to play. I've got this house sparrow that I kind of want to use. I've got a bald eagle with 2 fish in the tray that I can play now. Looking back, I probably should have played the bald eagle now, but I know he's going to draw cards, so you know what? I need a ground nest. And I know the key is a ground nest, but there's no really efficient, good way to get it. So I made a tough call, and I think I end up playing a swan, the trumpeter swan. I know I want it down. I know I want it down in this round so that I can lay eggs on it. It ended up being, I'll just spoiler alert, it ended up being the top tier move, and I'll show you in just a sec. You're gonna see. If I hadn't played it when I did, or at least within the next 2 rounds, then the hyper efficient play, you know, the big brain play as they say, wouldn't have happened. So I do end up playing this trumpeter swan. Come on, past me, put it down. You know you did. Man, I really had to think about this because I really wanted that Kia. But looking back, I wonder what my final score would have been if I had taken the Kia. Just skip the Tui, take the Kia. But decided, no, it's alright. I'll just use 2 Nectar here. I know I also want to play the bald eagle. I probably should have played the bald eagle first, because then I just get those fish. But for some reason, I just decided, I know I'm playing the trumpeter swan. I'm not sure what my next 3 turns look like, because I don't know what happens after the Kia. Trumpeter swan has to go down, though. That's a must, because at the end of this round, I might just need to lay eggs. So I have 3 more turns to work with. Probably want to play the bald eagle next if those fish are still in there, because that's just free points for the starling. So there we go. Finally went ahead and did it. Decided to use worms, obviously, because I want to save those wheats for those precious wheats for my house sparrow. And then I count the rest of my turns, and I decide, oh shoot, I can't lay eggs to compete for the end of round, put down the house sparrow, and like efficiently take food. I think is what this all worked out to. I kind of made a snap decision. I decided, you know what, bald eagle also should go down so I can get some fish. This ended up being the perfect play because, you'll see in a minute why, but if I had thought this through, this was actually a mistake. I played this here because I wanted to clear off the Tui, I wanted the extra fish, I wanted the efficiency play. Here's where it comes in. He gave me a free egg with his noisy miner, so I can get those 3 points for that end around goal. That ended up being so clutch because now I can draw food right now and play my house sparrow and get tons of points out of it. Like, that extra egg made a huge difference because now I don't have to lay eggs in order to contribute to this end around bonus. Past me didn't think about that. It's like, looking at this future me, it's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense that if he uses his miner, you're golden. I didn't know that, but I'll take it. It ended up really helping me out. So grab an extra nectar because, you know, Starling can always use it. I decided to actually just take a card because I know I need more for the Benelli's Eagle, and you know, you never know what's going to show up. I might even use that. Or I might have even used that to win the nectar battle, but once again, he laid eggs, so I got another egg on wood duck. Got a free food. At this point, I think it was a mistake for him to be Hummingbird, unless he needed the Hummingbird food for some reason, but any food he gives me is just more points for the Starling. Definitely using Nectar for that, because I want to use it in the forest, or in the grasslands, and I don't want to be using my wheat, and I don't have a cherry. End around bonuses, Starling obviously needs to use Nectar. I did... at this point, I felt, okay, any food needs to be ditched on these birds because they are, I'm going to have plenty of food to play these last birds, especially with Benelli's Eagle being a turn, and then I only need 2 food for the Plains Wanderer, and then I don't think I'm playing anything else, so I have 3 turns other than playing birds, right, in this final round to take food. So this is what I do when I plan out my final rounds. You count your turns. You got 5 left, and you pick out which birds you absolutely want to play, which are the most valuable. I've got 2, Benelli's Eagle, Plains Wanderer. Everything else is just gathering resources. Taking food, I have 5 slots on Starling and Sparrow to fill, so that's 10 food there, 12 food total when you count the Plains Wanderer as well, and then Benelli's Eagle. So I need 12 food total. I've got 3 turns of taking food. 3 each plus the European Robin, so you're getting 4 food every time. That's 12 extra food. That's not how this actually wound up, but, that's kind of what I'm thinking is I'm going to take food 3 times, and then I'm going to play Benelli's Eagle in that. So I look at his board, and I realize that we're tied on Nectar, and he doesn't have a way to spend any more Nectar in the forest. So, in thinking this through, I was like, okay, if I get 1 more Nectar down in the forest, then I will get a free 3 points for that, a 3-point swing. So I reset the feeder, looking for Nectar, found it, and then I just need 1 more food. I'd take the grain, obviously, because and then I think about it as like, okay, do I need to take more grain for whatchamacallit? It's like, no, for the House Sparrow. And I decided no, I don't need more grain right now, but I do have an extra card for that, so I can take the grain that way. I actually decided to copy the grain, which ended up being a mistake. Oh wait, no, I did copy the Nectar. Did I? Yeah, so this was actually a mistake. This actually cost me 3 points because we ended up tying Nectar at the end in the grasslands, and if I had just taken 1 more Nectar here, I actually had enough grain to fill the Sparrow, so that was a mistake. Decided tuck 1, gain 2 eggs, give him an egg. I mean, that's 2 points to me. That's definitely worth doing. And I know I'm getting 1 more card. I'm hoping for junk that I can just ditch with Benelli's, and sure enough, got more trash. Not a problem. And then he gives me 1 more egg, and, it's just a point, whatever. I don't really have a huge plan for it. I did decide, okay, if I spread it around, because I'm going to be getting more bonus cards, and then a Whooping Crane shows up. I was like, whoa, hold on, I got 4 turns. I could play birds 3 times. Benelli's Eagle, I could play Benelli's Eagle, I could play Wanderer, and I could play Whooping Crane, but I need to make sure that I have enough resources. So this took me a while to plan this out. I'm not drawing. I know I'm not drawing from that. I would take it using, like, Tui. Well, Tui would reset the tray, so I don't want to use that. So I have to make sure Tui can tuck. So I need to clear the eggs off it to get real efficiency out of it. And I look at his board, and I see he's got 5 Nectar and 3 cards and tons of food. I mean, this guy is not drawing cards anymore. So that Whooping Crane's staying right there. So I have 2 turns to work. I have a couple turns to work with to try to get that Whooping Crane. I just think it makes no sense for him to draw it up where he currently stands. So then I was like, okay, how do I clear those eggs off of Tui? Well, I bet I could just play Benelli's Eagle in the forest, clear those off of Tui, and then I also get another food. It pushes the engine along. This actually makes sense. And I just need to use 1 Nectar in order to win the end around bonus, and that way I don't have to ditch all 3 cards, and then I have 1 now for the Tui copying the Noisy Miner. this ended up being pretty big brain play because I knew he wasn't going to take it. I figured if he did, that would have been a mistake on his part. So we're good to go. So I went ahead and locked that action in. I took those 2 cards. Benelli's down. Felt weird not ditching 3 cards for Benelli, but that Nectar gives me 3 extra points. Sure enough, he did not take the Whooping Crane like I thought, so I reset the tray, and then take all the Nectar that I can, and then think about it. Do I need more wheat? Well, yes, but I might as well, take what I can. And sure enough, it did not reveal more Nectar, or it only revealed 1 wheat, so that ended up being smart enough. I do have 6 wheat now, so I'm good there. Might as well copy a Nectar. I was trying to just end on 5 wheat and all the Nectar that I needed, but that didn't happen perfectly. Noisy Miner makes sense. Tuck that Golden Oriole. Get 2 eggs on that bird. And then lay 1 with the dove. And now I reveal the Common Swift, and I think, oh, that would have been cool too, but it's way too late for that, so I ditch the Swift. I've got plenty of food for everything. So I count it all out, and I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 6. I got 14 food. So I have plenty to fill both the Sparrow and the Starling, and then play these 2. Drop down to 5, it leaves me 9 food left. I decided not to use Nectar here. I wanted to use as much Nectar as I can in the wetlands, so I just ditched Cherry and Fish. I decided to try to spread my eggs around in case Whooping Crane found an ethologist or something, or not ethologist. Ethologist is what I found. Try to find, what's the one with the oologist, where you got eggs all over? That's usually a safe, end of game one. So again, Barrow's Goldeneye triggers, put it on Starling because it's blank right now. And then lastly, we'll play the Plains Wanderer. Didn't really matter what I used, but I decided to just use those 2. It actually did. I'm sorry, I did want to use 1 wheat because otherwise I wouldn't be able to use the wheat on the Sparrow. Oh, I guess that doesn't matter too because it could have played on the Starling, but these are all decent. Forest Data Analyst, totally planned for that by playing descending order of Wingspans in Forest. So I was just ready, that's the big brain. Obviously, I'm kidding. I didn't realize I had played 4 in a row descending, so that was convenient. Ditched those 4, and then ditched the rest on the Starling. That worked out nice. His end around, he played, or his end of game, Magpie, I think played a Cedar Waxwing, which isn't all that scary, so I was feeling really good going into this end. I feel like he tried to play around certain things, but I ended up finding all the right things to play around what he was trying to do. That Tui reveal ended up being huge, and the Wood Duck really gave me a lot of potential this game. I feel like starting with a Wood Duck in the opening tray or in your opening hand, I always seem to do really well when I get a Wood Duck. It's a very powerful card. I think it's extremely strong. I think it's well known that it's a pretty strong card, but I just think I tend to play with it really well. So looking at this end of game, again, I just felt really good. And all of a sudden I got an achievement. I guess I've never broken 60 with my bird points alone, so that was fun. A little Steam achievement. End around bonuses. Eggs did alright. Food on cards. Here's what I didn't realize. And I didn't realize the Starling. I always think they're like cached food. So when it had 27 tucked cards on it, I was actually really surprised. But yeah, pretty solid game all around. And thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe, like, and cheers.